Thank you for joining me on this glorious day. And back to the story. So I bumped into the psychic a year and a half ago, and I said, "You have a moment? I want to ask you something." He said, "Sure." I love a smile on his face, and he said, "Sure." And I told him the truth. I told him what I've told you in the last clip. And he's listening to me. And I asked him, is it imagination or is he really there with me? I'll never forget how he stood there, his head tilted towards the right, and he looked up. And I looked at my colleague and I realized he's going somewhere. I made sure to look at him with my physical eyes and not to interrupt him with something more powerful to get in where he's going. And I kept quiet. And I would say he went where he had to go for about a minute and a half. And then looks down towards the left, and you still see him digesting the information, and lifts up his head and looks at me. It's okay if you don't believe me. It's okay if you don't believe me, but I'll say it anyways. And he looks at me and he starts telling me everything about the relationship of me and my grandfather. Like he doesn't know who my grandfather is. He has no clue who my grandfather is. And he begins to tell me, sorry, I'll be with you soon. He begins to tell me everything about the relationship with my grandfather and all the stuff I used to do with him. And although I know this stuff, I live in that world, but when your physical ears hear it from someone else, I just was laughing. I was just laughing, sitting there laughing. And then he looks at me and says, "Of course he's with you. Of course he's with you." And then my grandfather came to join me right there, and he interrupted the conversation. It was so awkward. It was so overwhelming. It was so difficult. And then I went down to ask him other questions, which I sort of knew the answer, but I wasn't sure if it's so many years that he's gone and he has great-grandchildren in his name. How does that work? But yeah, he confirmed my answer that spirit is spirit. Spirit is not limited to one aspect. Let's wrap this all together. Let's put this all together. Let's go to the child. Let's go to spirit. Let's go to the human that passes away. There's two aspects to human. There's one, the physical, and there's one, the spirit. Even our connection to our loved ones is a physical connection. You have a cup of tea with them. You go out to the restaurant. You go on a trip. You hug them. You have conversations. But like we started a few clips ago, we started talking about your connection is not physical. Your connection is the feeling that you derive, the emotional, the spiritual, the mental connection that you have with them. Of course, it's easier to have it when the physical is there. But if you learn how to meditate, you learn what spirit is, you learn how to tap into spirit, you learn how to become spiritual, even when people are alive, you could connect to them. When they're on a different continent, you could connect to them from your own home. Thanks for listening, and hopefully in the next clip we'll wrap it all together, we'll put it all together. Have an awesome day.